Yeah, we know what that is.
It sounded like a blender on my end. Like someone's like pureeing some ice.
Yeah, I'm not watching on the video, so
it sounded like a dude was tearing up a snare drum is what it sounded like, in my opinion. Abuse.
Yeah. No, that's the part of the Bloodshot song that I've been talking about that one of my bands did. I'm stoked about. Anyway, yeah, get Valiant. We're at like a big number, like 138 now.
The big 138. We've been so excited to finally hit this number.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I've been doing thumbnails for it for a while, kind of like outside, and I want to see how much I have down, where we're at right now, because it's getting up there pretty quick. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how fast it adds up. I mean, yeah, we're coming up on 150 something.
I know. I always have such a hard time trying to understand when we started, because it's been a little bit more than like about 3 years ago. We didn't do this weekly. We used to just record the episodes and then try to get them edited by Eric. And sometimes the episodes wouldn't come out for a couple of weeks, and then there would be times where we just take a break. Life would hit us. I always have a hard time just understanding, like, when did we actually start this thing? Do you have any idea, Eric?
No, I don't. I mean, we would have to go to that website that we share all the time that we never go to, that would say, like, when that first episode was posted.
Well, it's been more than 138 weeks, because there's been weeks off and whatnot, right? So, been a little while for you guys. So
yeah.
But yeah, you guys have been going for a while, and now they're live, and they're coming at you with the live chat and posted right away. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Sean Hayes hanging out with us immediately. That's always awesome. I'm glad that he's able to stop by again. I have always hated when the store didn't have my books, so yeah. Do we have much in the way of news? I mean, we always like to talk about news, stuff that has happened in the Valiant world. I don't know if there's been a whole lot that has dropped. I mean, we've kind of all just had that trailer, and not too much else going on as far as stuff dropping. We've gotten news that we've talked about. The Harbinger book is coming, and a whole bunch of awesome shit coming in 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's not much news.
We talked
tomorrow. There probably will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
The day after the record.
Yeah.
Are you saying something that you know? Is that what you're trying to tell us right now?
Who are you talking? I don't know anything.
No, I just think that's kind of sometimes our luck. When there's no news, that means tomorrow there's news. Kind of the way that works when we don't have anything to really talk about. I think it's a matter of time before they make it official that the Doctor Tomorrow is in February. So that's kind of coming around the road, that they're going to come back with that. And, yeah.
I'll definitely be happy for that. My personal news that I got to experience, my wife got me this. Look at this.
So I have a question, Eric. Did she commission that, or did Frank do that and then she bought it?
Yeah, no, he did it, and then I was like, man, that's really fucking awesome. And then just a little while later, she's like, oh, here, we got to go stop somewhere. Comes out with a box, and boom, it's Vin Diesel Bloodshot. And it's 2 Vin Diesels. It's 2 for the price of 1, really.
Yeah.
So for people who will listen to this later on the podcast edition, what Eric is showing is he got a commission done, or he didn't get a commission done. He just bought a piece of art from one of his friends that has done some art for him in the past, and it's Bloodshot, but it's a Vin Diesel Bloodshot, and it looks really highly detailed. And within the picture, it's got a facial shot of him, and then
show that again, Eric.
With the gun. The gun image reminds me very much of a scene or a shot within Taxi Driver, the old movie from the 70s where it shows him holding the gun. That pose looks.
You mean the director that hates Marvel movies?
Yes, the guy who hates Marvel, who only likes Italian mobster movies.
But he'll do a voice for Shark Tale, so I mean, you know. There's certain things that he can do, So stab a guy in the neck with a pen, because because he makes people laugh. Yeah, Scorsese. I don't know what to say about that. You guys want to get into some books?
So, I mean, what do we do? Do we just jump straight into books?
I guess we just go right for it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, there's not really a whole lot else that we have right now to chat about. I don't know about you guys. I've been watching the trailer over and over again. I just watched them both again a little bit ago.
Oh, so that's some news. Because you went to the theater and it didn't play for Terminator, but Dinesh is saying it should have. So theaters are cutting people short on trailers, which kind of sucks. Because I'm sure Sony pays some money to have their trailer played before a movie.
Well, I would have loved to have seen the Bloodshot trailer on the big screen. That would have been amazing. But I didn't get to see the Bloodshot trailer. I did get to see the Terminator movie. And I can definitely understand if some people don't like it, because I know a lot of people just like things to be the way they are used to, but I thought it was really good.
So one thing, though, that now that we bring up the trailer, that I thought was interesting, and a few people shared this information, I think Eric was one of them, was that the Bloodshot trailer actually outperformed the Star Wars trailer in a few different caveats within Facebook, as far as positive mentions and things like that. So that's a huge deal, because Star Wars is such an established property. Those movies are guaranteed to make their money pretty much, and they're just a huge phenomenon. So the fact that Bloodshot's trailer performed as well as it did, and especially when that trailer came out later that night, the Star Wars one, that's great for, I think, the awareness of getting Bloodshot a little bit more notoriety, getting people to see that trailer. That's huge.
I give it that trailer was also played during the World Series for Star Wars, so there was many people that didn't need to go online to see it if they watched it right there during the Baseball World Series. So who knows? Baseball ratings suck right now anyway, because the sport's just dying. So, but yeah. And then I asked everybody online too if they know any news too, because again, some of our best stuff comes from the people that are chatting with Sean and Scott and whatnot. So if you guys are on here, chat away. Let us know any news that we may have overlooked this week.
I did think it was interesting to see that by certain metrics, Bloodshot did outperform Star Wars on Facebook. Star Wars got more new likes, but I don't think people watch the Bloodshot trailer and think, I want to go like the page. I think they watch it and say, well, this is going to be another badass Vin Diesel movie, because as much as there are the snobs among us, and I probably have been one at certain times myself, that want to say, Vin Diesel sucks and whatever, like his movies aren't that deep. But honestly, man, I mean, his movies make billions of dollars. The guy puts butt in seats, and that's what we need to get a Valiant movie to work. And if we want a Valiant universe, even if it's not connected to this, I think we need this movie to work. And I think Vin Diesel was a great way to do it. He looks... I know a lot of people have complained about the look in the trailer, but honestly, man, from the first time I watched that trailer, I felt like he looks and feels like he is Bloodshot on that screen. And I don't care about the hair. I don't care that it just looks like Vin Diesel. Well, any actor would look like themselves, because they do. Sam Heughan happens to look a lot like Sam Heughan in that movie, So it is what it is there. But I think that a lot of those criticisms I just can't get behind.
What are the two of you guys' thoughts if you think about your first impression of seeing JDF as Bloodshot and now Vin Diesel as Bloodshot? How would you compare those two?
Man, that's so hard to say, because JDF was the first. He's always going to be the first guy who got to portray Bloodshot on the screen, even though it's a computer screen, if you will, or even like your television screen. But he does look just like he fell out of the pages. But the thing is, with the first trailer of the Bloodshot movie, that's all we have to go off of. So we don't have a full screening of where we can say, okay, what about this scene where he did this, or that scene where he did this? We only have what we see in the trailer. So there's so much of that which is hidden from us. But I do think, as far as like who who looks the best of the part, it was Jason David Frank, easily. I mean, he just looked exactly like you wanted Bloodshot
that we know of so far, right?
So,
yeah, so far.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, going on first impressions, I think that's valid. I will also, though, have to agree with Scott in the chat. JDF was great for the scale, for what Ninjak Versus was, right?
Yep.
If Ninjak Versus was a $100 million movie, I can guarantee you JDF would not have looked the way that he did in the movie that they made. Now,
well, if they made a $100 million Ninjak versus Valiant Universe, he would have probably had better makeup to put on too, though. Or they would have
that's
done.
what I'm saying, though. Is the look that we got isn't the look we would have gotten if it was on the same scale as the Vin Diesel movie. Now, would it have looked exactly like what they're doing with Vin Diesel? No, I don't think it would have. But I'm just saying that it would be very different. So that's one of the aspects. My first impression seeing JDF as Bloodshot was, one, Bloodshot looks a lot like JDF. And, that the makeup is what I would expect from that caliber. I don't think that, Bat in the Sun is making awesome stuff that I don't think just anybody can make, but they're not making high-end, glossy Hollywood films. And their sets and costumes reflect that scale. And that has always been what I've thought of JDF as Bloodshot. Having said all of that, I also want to say that the first time I saw JDF as Bloodshot was absolutely amazing, because that was the first time seeing that the character was going to be brought to life. Jesse Fresco showed us that Bloodshot can exist in the real world for years, but getting to see him on screen interacting with different characters and in a storyline and all that stuff, that was what I thought of, a big part of what I thought of when I first saw JDF as Bloodshot. It was so awesome, and he will forever and always be the first Bloodshot. And he's going to be at the con I'm going to this weekend, and I don't know if I'm going to spend the money to get something signed, because I think it's like $50.
Man, speaking of that convention, just really, really quick, because it's I can't remember the name of it. What is it called again?
Minneapolis. It's GalaxyCon Minneapolis.
I was looking at their guest list, and that is a pretty stacked show for a show in Minneapolis. That thing looks like a lot of fun.
It's going to be crazy. And, of course, I'm going on Saturday when it's probably going to be the busiest. But Greg Capullo is going to be there. So I'm going to show him my super awesome Greg Capullo tattoo. Scott Snyder will be there, the writer of my favorite Batman run. Brent Peoples.
Neil Adams.
My wife is saying that she's going to actually pay for me to go on Sunday, and so I'll get to see Elliot, because he won't be able to be there on Saturday, but if I go Sunday, I'll be able to see him. That'll be awesome. Brent Peoples is a late addition. He's going to be there. I'm pretty excited. Tim Seeley. I mean, how could I forget? Tim Seeley is going to be there, so I've been debating with myself what Bloodshot covers I'm going to bring to have him sign.
That's
I'm pretty excited. It doesn't happen here in Minnesota very often, honestly. Like, this kind of stuff, like, usually we just get the same local artists and creators, which are awesome. We've got a lot of cool people in the local scene, like Elliot and John Bivens. And, Actually, speaking of which, everybody should check out Creature Feature from Vault. Two creators who've been involved with Valiant in the past. Elliot's written several things. John has done some covers, at least one.
And Midnight Vista?
Cover, but that book was awesome. Midnight Vista was really good. That book, that book was really good. And then I thought Creature Feature was really good. Like, if you liked horror movies in the 80s and 90s, but you're an adult now, Creature Feature is perfect.
Oh, man.
So
Dan Didio is also there at
from
that
Minnesota
too. That's cool. Dan Didio?
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
So Neil Adams. There's some good. That's a pretty good one right now.
There.
So it looks like a fun con.
Yeah. Scott's saying Michigan's UP doesn't get anything, and I totally hear it, man. I mean, the whole state of Minnesota rarely ever gets anything, and now I think this is the first year that they're trying to do something big like this. So hopefully it goes well, and I'm just gonna enjoy as
Christopher
much
Priest
of it as I
too.
can.
That's pumped up. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, Christopher Priest, creator of Quantum and Woody.
Yeah. Salt Lake has Salt Lake Fan X or Fan X Salt Lake, whatever they call it now, after they got sued by San Diego Comic-Con. They bring in so many people, but it's like comics are such an afterthought. It's really disappointing. But the guys that run the Nerd Store, a comic book shop in my area, they put on a free show at the mall out here that has a better comic book cast than the big Fan X Salt Lake. So I'm looking forward to what they're doing. I think it's like next May when they'll do their show again. They have a Kickstarter going right now that helps offset their cost, so it's always free for people.
Yeah.
But I always feel like those guys know how to like do it, and they're shop owners, so they know how to get people in, and they go to shows. We hung out with them a little bit last year at Emerald City.
Too bad we don't get people here for that.
So looking forward to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Eric.
Too bad.
So now is the time to get into books. I'm glad we went over all that stuff. It took a little bit to remember it because but I'm glad we went over all that stuff.
Yeah. So
I'm glad that I got to shout out Creature Feature because I really wanted to make sure to talk about that.
Good.
I almost completely forgot. So
I got some good stuff on here. We're gonna have some spoilers today, so some good spoilers.
You've
been
been warned.
spoilers. We're definitely gonna ruin the books. So.
And we're closing out 2 books, Livewire number 12 and Killers number 5. So let's get it going with Livewire. What do you guys think? Cool.
Yeah, perfect.
Livewire.
Yeah, man. This is the end of Vita Yala's run. I think they did a good job with the character. Taking Amanda from where she was at the end of Harbinger Wars 2 and bringing her through the course of 12 issues to where she ends up. I thought the ending of this book, honestly, man, I mean, that ending made the whole book worth it, or this whole last arc that a lot of us haven't been loving. I don't think the last arc has been bad by any means, but I definitely understand the complaints about it and why it's not everybody's favorite. But that ending, when she flies in and reunites with those kids, like that was worth everything to me. However, like the art, I actually really liked Tana Ford's art on this, but I don't remember who it was, but there was like that whole scene with the newly elected guy that was done by a different artist, and that was kind of weird. I'm sure it was a timing issue, but it just felt kind of weird, and I didn't enjoy that art as much. But I know people have been kind of really stoked on Tana Ford's art on this, but I thought this book looked great other than that one scene.
I don't know. I think when it was all said and done, I was really glad that the end scene happened where she reunites with the Secret Weapons cast, and they seem like they're just kind of over everything. Like, okay, cool, let's all just be buddies again. But I did kind of think that this was a really just kind of a ho-hum issue. It was a lot of talking. This whole storyline has been just a ton of talking, not a lot of action. But I thought, though, that it was interesting that this politician had enough like tech savviness about himself that he could like put some kind of like weird digital tick of sorts onto Livewire to help like steal information from her. But I don't know. I mean, it really stinks. I just keep thinking about how this series was going early on with the first 8 issues and where I thought the book was going. And to see it end like this, it's too bad it ended. But I haven't loved this arc, and I haven't liked the art either. But, honestly, I think when I think about the entire run, I think Vita did a good job. It would be nice to see Vita continue with Valiant, but they have a lot of work ahead of them at other places. So I think that's all up in the air for now. But Vita did a great job with Livewire.
So, I mean, going on this, so basically the election happens, the guy that was with Livewire wins the election, and they kind of do like this like retribution. They kind of like basically bring Livewire back to good graces within the public eye, and she gets back together with the Secret Weapons team. I do feel like setting that little I don't know, virus inside Livewire with her software or whatnot, I felt like that was kind of against her power set, or against what her powers and her her attention to detail that sometimes she keeps outside of Harbinger Wars 2. But I feel like that was kind of just a misuse of her power to kind of let something so simple kind of fly by her. And I do. It's interesting the Easter egg of the penguin in there for Heather, because she loves penguins. So I mean, it's kind of interesting to have that thrown in there. So kind of cute. We know how much she loves those. So, but ultimately, art still for this arc. I do like that it gets us back to where we were with her with the secret weapons, kind of where we were at the end of Secret Weapons. That piece there, and we could get going and we can move forward to the Harbinger book that's coming in the near future, and hopefully we'll have some renegades and secret weapons together, and we can really get into some of this Psyot corner of the universe. Is kind of my ultimate pleasure about this. Art, again, I think we talked about it, wasn't my favorite at all. Happy that this is kind of, like I said, coming to a close. And Livewire's kind of, like I said, back in the good graces, so we can see some more of her in the bigger Valiant universe.
Agreed. I hope that, for me at least, liking these characters as much as I do, which is Livewire and the Secret Weapons, I hope there's not a huge wait before we get to see them again together. I know there's a Harbinger book coming up. Whether or not they play a role in it is yet to be seen, but I just think they're such great characters, especially when they're all together. You can't leave us all waiting until like next December or like a year later than that even. Like this, hopefully something next year happens where we get to see all these characters doing something and interacting in some.
Coming
some
back to it, I would really like to see Eric Heiser do a 0 issue of Avi, because he's done one of Owen, he's done one of Nikki. I'd like to see that happen. I don't think it will happen, but I'd love to see that. And speaking of, Secret Weapons going to be collected in that Harbinger Wars 2 Deluxe Edition that is up for pre-order right now. So
that's awesome. Secret Weapons is, I mean, one of the high watermarks of Valiant publishing history. So, to get Livewire back to where she was there, I think is a success on Vita's part. Not because I think going to the past is a good thing, but I think being able to take the character through this journey that Vita didn't have, they didn't start that journey with Livewire, and bringing the character, through all of this, having learned a bunch and making her. I think that was one of the things that Vita did really well, was she, Vita really got inside Livewire's head and kind of did a miniature version of what Lemire did for Bloodshot. That was my impression of it. I don't think that this last arc was as good as the first two, but I still have really enjoyed the book. And, I definitely wouldn't mind to seeing Vita write more Valiant. I think that they have a clear, distinct voice that I think has a really good place at a place like Valiant that wants to try things new and be on the cutting edge. So, having said all that, for this book, I think I'm going to come in at a 3.75. I don't think it's a great book, but I do think that it is a good book.
I'm going to go a 3 on this one. It's an ending to the series, which it's always unfortunate, but hopefully this is not the last we've seen of Livewire. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with Josh. I'm going to give it a 3. I'm excited to see Harbinger come out, and that we can kind of have the whole Psyots on the table, except for Harada, really, and hopefully give somebody the ability to do a great story with, like I say, the Psyot corner of the universe, and we can move forward on that and kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely ready to move on. I think it's great that Livewire got her own title, and now it's time to bring that universe, that part of the Valiant universe, back together.
Hey, real quick, I do want to say this though: the Livewire variants that are the magazine style variants are awesome. They look great, and the one where Livewire looks like a Lady Justice holding the scales, I think is actually a really cool cover too.
I like the one that's kind of understated, where she's just got her hand on her hip. I thought that was a really good cover. It's really well rendered.
The pre-order edition cover.
I don't remember if that's what it is, if that's the one, but yeah. Yeah, that and the magazine covers were the ones that really stood out to me. Those magazine covers all look really, really good. I thought that was a really cool way to
put it out there, yeah.
Play up certain aspects of Livewire's character we don't normally see. Yeah, it was really cool. So, Killers number 5. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I didn't read either Livewire or Killers today because I wanted to hold out as long as possible, because we've had these books for days, like since Friday. I didn't read them until, just before going on the episode today, because I wanted to hold off as long as possible admitting that Killers was done.
Hey, did anyone else have like a hell of a time reading through these PDFs? I guess they're like really big files this time for some reason. And I could not get... Yeah, I couldn't get them to work on my phone. No, please don't do that anymore.
And one thing that was interesting on this is how some of... I don't know if it's the actual printed versions or just the files we got had the Ki-6 trade dress on it, because I know some of them did, some of them didn't, it looks like. But it was kind of interesting to throw that out there before it was like really shown Ki-6. So it's kind of like an Easter egg that they left there. And like Eric, you were saying, you wanted to hold off as much so you could have to finally know that Killers is over. But you must have loved the ending of this book then.
So, extremely unexpected. The idea of this going... Okay, so I'll be honest with you guys. I'm trying to pull up right now and remember, because I just read this book once. Did we even see the fight with the Burning Monk, or was there a fight with the Burning Monk?
It was all of the people that were there protecting it is kind of what the fight was with the Burning Monk.
Right, but then they showed up, and G is like, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. Cut to the Yonin's apartment. Like, we didn't see anything, or did I miss something?
No, that's how it was for me too.
Because that just seemed like a crazy jump. I was really hoping to see more of the Burning Monk. I thought that was something I was excited for, and was like, oh. But it's not a bad thing to leave us wanting more, right? Like, I definitely want to come back to this book for a lot of reasons. At first, I was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, how could they go work for the, Jonin, whatever, however the fuck you say it. I was like, how could they go work for him? Isn't he this evil guy? But I was thinking about it, and like, well, he worked for MI6, so he can't really be much worse than any of them. Or probably isn't much worse than any of them. He does have a big ego. He's a total blowhard, and they really make a point of drawing attention to that fact. But I guess he's not like the worst person in the world. I mean, it seemed like he was pitting everybody against each other and trying to kill everybody. But then it turned out that it was actually the really badass E who had been killing everybody, or trying to kill everybody. Sites. And oh, that was the other thing. I remember Sean Hayes saying in the live comments one episode about how much he liked that Snapdragon had a name, had an identity outside of just being a ninja. And by the end of this series, now we're seeing they've all got names. We've got Blind Spot and Sights and Carapace and Undisciple, and I mean, it's pretty cool. This was such a fun reading experience, and I would say like this art isn't what I would generally consider my favorite style, but it was really fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think the art totally works with this series. And in this last issue, again, it's nice that Dagnino did the entire series. There wasn't a bunch of different flashback art, things like that. We didn't have what we'd had with Livewire, where half of it was done by him, then half of it was by somebody else. I mean, visually, my least favorite thing about this entire series has been the Will Spartacio pre-order edition covers, which I just think are pretty
especially
hideous.
This issue.
Inside this book, the one for this issue is so ugly. It's the worst one. The Snapdragon. She looks like something awful. But aside from that, it's been super fun. It's been a lot of action, and I hope that people have liked this, because I feel like if you look at how Livewire was, this was the exact opposite. This was a lot of action. To me, it built up so much of Ninjak's corner of this universe. And not only that, we don't see a whole lot of action with the Jonin, or Yonin, whatever he was, within the pages of Ninja K. He was just kind of there controlling things. But here, when they all show up, when Ki-6 shows up to confront him, he dispatches them quite handily. He's not someone to be trifled with. I like that, and to me, it made the payoff of them kind of seeing his side of things, taking his side, work out a little bit better. They're defeated, but he reasons with all of them, like, you're killers, I'm a killer. It made more sense in that aspect that he, not only does he defeat them, but he makes them see it his way. So I'm glad that it sounds like this won't be the end of these characters either. There's like a tiny little thing like, Ki-6 will be back or whatever it was at the very end of this. But this was a great series. B. Claymore, I think I liked his writing on this way more than I did on Savage. And Savage is good, but to me this was just something a little bit more up my alley as a reader. This series is just so good. I just hope that people really appreciate it, because I feel like this is one of those times when people have been so critical of a lot of the work that Valiant's put out. This just seems like the kind of book that people would have gotten around to really enjoying or really thinking high of if there was a certain, nerd boss who maybe would have published this. Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm digging this book. I like you say, building up that Ninjak world is amazing. That side of the universe, and I actually enjoyed the art. I did think it was quite fitting for this book all the way around. I would say the only gripe I actually really kind of had was the Jonin's daughter's name. Shuri, which is the same name as Black Panther's little sister. I wish they would have changed that up a little bit. I don't know why, but that kind of just made me think of all the names you choose. One of the bigger names that just came out in a movie and just got their own solo title with Marvel is kind of the name you choose here. But if that's all I'm really griping about, that's saying a lot about this book, to be honest. I think this is going to be a good jumping on point for future Ninjak down the road, and I think it's going to lead into some Ninjak. I think we're going to be Claymore on some Savage, and then hopefully he comes back to continue this Killers, because I did like a lot what he was working with and the direction he was going. And I think Eric put on there in the chat, Sean and Scott have both put on there in the chat, that hopefully Ki-6 kind of goes back to that Burning Monk, and we could kind of see some more there. But ultimately, I dug this book all the way around, except for that pre-order cover, really. And all the way around. Mm-hmm. And then that last page, I loved that last page with, there's the MI6, so why don't we go be the Ki-6 and then they will return. I just thought that was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. They are so badass. This team rules, man. I'm a really big fan. For me, I always say that there's a separation between what I would rank a 4.75 and what I would rank a 5, and that has to do with the experience, the reading experience. And this book, this issue, definitely rated a 5 for me. I think that this, like I said before, this art isn't what I would normally say is my preferred style. Like Brett Booth on Bloodshot right now, that's the kind of art that I love. I love also Miko and Luis LaRosa and Cafu, and this is a more kinetic feeling art because it's a little bit looser. It's not quite as tight and stiff as some of those other artists. So yeah, I think that this book works perfectly. The art really complements the story. The action in it is amazing. This book to me is in a weird way, it feels a little bit like Valiant's John Wick. It's bringing us into this assassin world, and it's showing us all these badass characters who, the longer we stay with them, the more badass they get, and everything just keeps getting ratcheted up and up and up and up and up. I'm a big fan. And the idea of them working as a team now, obviously, don't know what E's involvement is going to be, but the rest of them working as a team, that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I like that you described it as the Valiant John Wick. I think that's actually pretty appropriate. And as a team, they all have different power sets that offset each other. They're one person's mental, one person has unbreakable skin. They all have these different abilities. It's really cool that they're not just assassins, but they have these awesome powers. I'm only going to go a little bit lower than Eric. I'm going to go a 4.5. This book is just great, and it almost feels like a more a more Ninjak centric, even though he's not in it, but more like the Valiant of like the Ninjak world. It's just a really fun book. Seriously, I mean, like, to me, like, reading it when I finished it, I was like, this was great. It had an ending I didn't see coming that totally worked. It's had awesome art. I mean, for me, the only thing more I could have asked for with this book is that we would have seen Ninjak. But like I've said before, and this is me being a broken record totally, this book showed that you didn't need Ninjak to do a Ninjak-style story set within his world with the players that you would see in his book. This was awesome. Please bring back B. Clay more.
Right.
give him more work to do. I don't think people are going to complain.
Yep.
So
I want to kind of do my hats off a little bit to Carl Bollers, who, from everything I believe, is no longer with Valiant. This was his last project that they had him on, and I want to applaud him for his work, and I also want to applaud them for Dead is Dead in Valiant, and that they didn't bring Ninja G's lover back to life. Because that was one thing I was kind of worried about, because that's been a Valiant ongoing thing, is Dead is Dead. But again, hats off to Carl. I wish him luck wherever he's at. I enjoyed what was here, and continue bringing us BK more, and then kind of running from there. I am, just to kind of be different, I'm going to say 4.65, just to kind of split the difference between the two of you guys. I really loved it. I thought it was good, and I do think it's one book that we'll probably go back to. We got a little bit of personality with every one of these characters, and so I hope with whatever comes out in the future that we kind of peel back each person. We get to more about Snapdragon. We get to know more about Sights and what his agenda is, and kind of run from there. And again, Jonan and his daughter Shuri, and kind of figuring out this whole age thing that I think Sean mentioned in there. That's kind of weird, because they are like the same age as Ninjak, but they're actually really older than him, and yet they're still around. So, and we know that's kind of with the Tears of the Burning Monk type of thing to get that going, and what the Jonans taught them. But lots to be lots of directions to go from here.
Yeah, I actually got to do an interview with Carl before this series kicked off about this, and I didn't have too much to go off of, so I tried to do an interview where it was very not spoilery. It's kind of hard to actually do, but he was a good guy. He gave some good answers to everything, so he'll be missed. My first interaction with Carl was actually really awkward, where me and I think Eric and our friend Henry Starling from Geeker, we had created an interview with him, and I ran into him at WonderCon right after we sent the questions in, and he never sent them back, but he said he did. And I was just like, shit, like, this is so weird, because we don't have your answers at all. But he was a good dude, so he'll be missed, Hopefully he goes somewhere cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So we didn't really ever even mention it, but it's Fernando Dagnino that did the art for Killers. And I think that art was so solid all the way through. I'm not familiar with Jose Villarrubia, who was the colorist, but if this is the quality of work that they produce working together on an action book like this, then I hope, something that I thought Valiant did really well and that I really enjoyed was when we had, Madkin and Trevor Hairston working together and coming out with a Divinity arc or a Divinity mini, like once every year or whatever. If we can get something like that with books like Killers and really there are a lot of books like Punk Mambo, Our Marines, if we could ever get that, I think it'd be really cool to do that kind of thing, have this rotating list of minis that, maybe they're not ongoing books, but they don't stay off the shelf for too long, and we get a 4, 5, 6 issue series every year. I'd love to see that with the Ki-6 and whatever becomes of them in the future. Yeah, that's just something that I think would be awesome to see more of from Valiant.
And going back to seeing what's coming out also this week is the Trade of Fallen World, just in time for Rye to come out really soon this month. So all the way, that's also the other book coming out this week.
Nice.
And that was good too. It was another good book. You know,
and the new
Valiant's had a
Rival
bunch
is
of.
amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, before I cut you off, sorry, I was just gonna say, Valiant's had a lot of good event books this year. We've had Fallen World, we had Incursion, we've had. I don't know if you would consider Killers one or not, but we've had a lot of these weird offshoot books that have just been just absolutely excellent.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I completely agree that we're getting these books that are tangentially related to the core pieces of the Valiant universe, and what it does is it just expands everything. You know, we never would have really thought that we were going to get a Ninjak corner of the Valiant universe, like we had a Harbinger corner of the Valiant universe. Well, we have one now. I mean, you know, and the idea that we're going to get more books expanding on that is really exciting. You know, I definitely think that that's something to be exploited. I think that style of book is one that it sounds like both Josh and I are huge fans of. So, yeah, I definitely hope that we get more in that vein, as well as things coming back like Harbinger and Exo Manowar, and you know, we got Bloodshot on the shelf and Rye coming very soon.
I still haven't read Rye. I'm still waiting until the book's about ready to come out, just because I want it to be fresh in my mind when we talk about it.
Yeah, I will read it again when it comes out. And I just read the Ashcan when I first got it, and that was a while ago. So, but what I remember of it was that it was really good. I definitely like Reap's art. Juan Jose Reap's art in it is really, really solid. So, definitely stoked to see it with color, because I just read the Ashcan that had no color. But stoked to see it with color. Stoked to see the full version.
Yeah, they produced like the.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. What's coming up next week?
Psylords number 5, Dr. Mirage number 4. All right. Oh, there was one piece of news that I didn't talk about, and that was, let me pull it, see if I could find it there, was Bad Idea. Former CEO, CFO Dinesh kind of gave a link to his future, whatever it is. So I know Valiant fans are always Valiant fans, so Bad Idea looks like it's coming, whatever that is.
And whatever it is,
so it's kind of it's nothing.
Except for the
whatever it is, I'm sure I'll support it. That's all I can say. You know, we'll see what it becomes. I mean, I have my own ideas.
Louis LaRosa has been posting images of a comic book with the hashtag Bad Idea. So there, I mean, it's yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Louis LaRosa has been posting some awesome pictures with hashtag Bad Idea. So yeah. You should look it up. You should get on Twitter. It's kind of a thing that the kids do. If you want to be what they call woke.
Well,
you want to be woke, Eric?
Eric's got an account on there.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I'm on Twitter. Technically,
look him up. He's on Twitter, guys.
All right.
But yeah, so Psylords, Dr. Mirage. I'm curious to see where we go with Dr. Mirage, and Psylords is always the most unpredictable book that we're reading right now. I mean, every month it's like, what the fuck is even happening? So, in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So, definitely interested. There's a lot to look forward to next week.
Yeah, I look forward to Psylords when it comes out. I just wish I understood what was kind of going on with it a little bit better than I do. That's all. I just want it to make a little bit more sense. But it's been like one of those weirdly enjoyable books because it's so bizarre. I think the characterizations work, not necessarily the plot, because I'm just like, what in the hell is this book? But I'm a big Dr. Mirage fan, so I love that book. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yep.
As far as Psylords, I still stand by what I said like way back at the beginning. I think that, you know, when we're done with this, we're going to be like, I want to go back and experience the journey of finding out what was really going on again. I think that this is going to be one of those books when new fans come to Valiant and they're like, oh, what can I read? What's really good? We're going to say, like, I envy you because you're about to read Psylords for the first time. You know, I think that...
Man, I don't know if I would say that, but...
I agree with Josh.
It's a really good book.
No,
I want them to continue reading.
Interesting, but it's so... I mean, like, right now, we're at that level where it's so confusing. But One thing I would say, because I don't look at any previews or anything. I hope the art. I hope the way it looked last issue is how it continues to look. It was. I thought that. Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll maybe give him Killers if I want him to continue reading, because it's kind of a little mind fuck that he kind of throws you down with on Psylord so far. So, but not saying that it's not good, but that it is a mind fuck.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thanks to everybody hanging out with us. Sean Hayes, as always. Scott Bloom has been hanging out with us quite frequently. That's always awesome. So it's been good to chat with you guys and have you be part of our episode. And anybody else watching, listening, either while we're live or afterward. If you do enjoy what we do, please, give us a like. That thumbs up is always awesome. You can feel free to subscribe. If you hit the bell, you'll be able to, find out when we're going live. You'll get notifications, and you can join us. Read the Valiant books and come here and talk with us. We always enjoy, fresh input and new ideas, and definitely enjoy when people interact with us. That's one of my favorite things about doing this live on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I want to add to that, too, is that we're not looking for people just to be like, to feel the same way we do, too. I mean, that's cool, obviously, but I always think about Sean. Sean Hayes is a great example of a person who, he likes what we do, obviously, but he has opinions that are different from us. And I like hearing that. I like seeing that, too. So I think it causes like some healthy discussion of the titles when you have someone be like, no, I see it this way. That different viewpoint is essential. So even if you don't like the books, if you're unhappy about shit, let us know, man. We like to talk about stuff,
Yeah. As much as we can, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to being back next week and talking about 2 new books. And hopefully you all have a great week. Signing off, I'm Eric Baumgart.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I'm John Hoosier. And go Sounders in the MLS Cup this weekend.